Imagine standing on a small green island, surrounded by nothing but the wide, endless blue of the ocean. There are no nearby cities, no airports, no roads leading anywhere. Only the sound of the wind, the crash of the waves, and the voices of a few hundred people who call this lonely place home. This is Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited island in the world. The nearest land is more than 2,000 kilometers away. If you look at a map, it is only a tiny dot in the South Atlantic Ocean, between South America and Africa. A dot that many people never notice, but one that carries a story of survival, peace, and human connection like no other. How do people live in such isolation? What do they eat? What do they do every day? How does it feel to wake up knowing that the nearest hospital, the nearest city, even the nearest stranger, is across the sea, far beyond the horizon? Tonight, we travel, not by plane, not by ship, but by imagination, to the farthest edge of the human world. We will explore the island's wild beauty, its deep silence, its people's laughter and quiet strength. This is not only the story of a remote place. It is a story about what it means to belong, even when the rest of the world feels so far away. If these relaxing stories spark your curiosity or help you rest, don't forget to like and subscribe to be part of our nightly journeys. You can also leave a comment below. It's a simple way of helping other curious minds find this space too. Now settle in. Let your mind drift with the soft sound of the waves. Close your eyes if you like. And let's begin our journey to Tristan da Cunha, the island at the edge of the map. Tristan da Cunha is not the kind of place you stumble upon by accident. If you were to draw a line halfway between South America and Africa, you might find it a tiny circle of green rising from a dark blue sea. It looks almost imaginary, like something a child might draw to show where pirates hide their treasure. But this island is very real. It sits in the South Atlantic Ocean, about 2,400 kilometers from South Africa and 3,300 kilometers from South America. There is no airport. The only way to get there is by ship, and that journey takes about 7 days if the weather is kind. If it isn't, it can take much longer or not happen at all. When people first hear about Tristan da Cunha, they often ask the same question: why would anyone live there? The answer is both simple and deep. Because it's home. The island was first discovered in 1506 by a Portuguese explorer named Tristan da Cunha. That's where it gets its name. He saw it from his ship, surrounded by fog and waves, but he never landed. For hundreds of years, it remained empty, too far, too wild, too hard to reach. Then, in the early 1800s, a few brave people decided to stay. They built small houses near the shore, raised animals, planted crops, and made a life. At first, there were only a handful, from Britain, Italy, and a few other places. But they stayed, and their families grew. Today, their descendants still live there, only about 250 people, all in one settlement called Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. Yes, that's its real name. It sounds grand, but it's actually a quiet village with cozy homes, narrow roads, and gentle hills behind it. There are no skyscrapers, no traffic lights, and no noise except for the wind and the sea. From above, the island looks almost round, like a green mountain rising straight from the ocean. In the middle stands Queen Mary's Peak, the island's volcano. Its top is often hidden under clouds, and from its sides, soft streams of mist roll down into the valleys. It's beautiful, but also powerful. The volcano is still alive, reminding everyone that this peaceful island was born from fire. The people of Tristan da Cunha have learned to live with this wild nature. They plant potatoes in a place they call the Patches, where the soil is rich from old volcanic ash. They fish in cold, clear waters, filled with crayfish and seabirds. When ships come, which happens only a few times a year, The islanders gather near the harbour to welcome them, excited to see new faces, news and supplies from the outside world. It's a rhythm that feels almost from another time. No rushing, no endless traffic, no constant notifications. Here, the day is guided by the weather, the sea, and the Sunday. Sometimes, life can be quiet, too quiet, some might say. Imagine standing on the beach at night, looking out at the horizon. There are no lights from other islands, no cities glowing in the distance. Only the stars above and the sound of waves breaking on black volcanic rock. In moments like that, you realize how far away everything else truly is. But for the people who live here, that distance is not frightening. It's comforting. They are surrounded not by emptiness, but by everything they need: land, sea, family, and peace. Tristan da Cunha is sometimes called the loneliest island in the world. Yet, if you talk to its people, they might tell you they've never felt lonely at all. Because loneliness isn't about distance, it's about connection. And on Tristan, everyone is connected. Every face is familiar. Every story is shared. When someone needs help, the whole island comes together. When someone is sick, neighbours bring food and care. When a new baby is born, everyone celebrates. It's a world built on community, not convenience. There is a beauty in that, a kind of peace that the modern world sometimes forgets. People there often say they don't have much, but they have enough. And maybe that's what truly matters. Still, the sea around them never lets them forget where they are, on the edge of the world. Storms can come quickly, waves can rise high, and for months the island might be cut off from everything beyond the horizon. Sometimes, when a storm passes, the air becomes crystal clear. You can see the deep blue ocean stretching endlessly in every direction. It feels as if the island is floating in the middle of the sky. It's hard to imagine a place more remote. And yet, here it is, full of life, laughter, and quiet strength. If you ever visit Tristan da Cunha, the first thing you'll feel is not isolation but wonder. You'll hear the wind brushing over the grass. You'll see seabirds circling the cliffs. And you'll realize this island, small as it is, holds a story as wide as the ocean that surrounds it. But what kind of island is it really, this green mountain in the sea? Where did it come from? And how did people manage to make a home on a place born from fire? Let's take a closer look at the island's fiery heart. Long before people ever saw it, Tristan da Cunha rose quietly from the sea. It was not always here. It was born from the deep, from heat, pressure, and fire. Millions of years ago, a crack opened in the floor of the South Atlantic Ocean. From that crack, molten rock began to rise, hotter than anything we can imagine. Each time the lava reached the surface, it cooled, hardened, and built layer upon layer of black stone. Over thousands of eruptions, those layers grew into a mountain. And one day, the tip of that mountain broke the surface of the sea. That was the birth of Tristan da Cunha, a lonely volcano, far from any other land. When you look at the island today, you can still see that story written in its shape. It's almost perfectly round, a green cone rising sharply out of the water, with cliffs on every side. Its peak, called Queen Mary's Peak, stands about 2,060 meters high, taller than many famous mountains. And at the top, hidden under a cloud most of the time, is a volcanic crater, quiet but never fully asleep. The people of Tristan da Cunha live near the coast, far below the mountain slopes. Their village, Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, rests on a flat stretch of land, one of the few places safe enough to build. From their homes, they can always see the volcano. It's part of their lives, part of their view, part of their story. And once, it reminded them just how alive it really was. In October 1961, strange things began to happen. The ground near the village started to shake, gently at first, then more strongly. At night, some people heard rumbling beneath their feet, like thunder coming from under the earth. Then, one morning, the sea near the shore began to bubble, and before long, a new mound of rock began to rise from the ground, not far from the houses. The volcano had awoken. Within days, hot ash and smoke filled the air. A crack opened, and molten lava began to pour down toward the village. The people of Tristan da Cunha had no choice. They had to leave their island. It was a heartbreaking moment. They packed what little they could carry, gathered their children, and walked toward the harbour. The air was thick with ash. The sky glowed red. Some looked back to see their homes standing under a black cloud. No one knew if they would ever return. A ship from South Africa came to rescue them. It carried all 264 islanders across the rough Atlantic Ocean, a 7-day journey away from everything they had ever known. Their destination, England. For the first time in history, the people of Tristan da Cunha were part of the modern world. They arrived in England wearing their warm island clothes, thick sweaters, wool hats, but found themselves in a place far colder in spirit. They were given homes, jobs, and schools. Everything was new: cars, big stores, electric lights, television. At first, it felt exciting, but soon, many began to feel something missing. They missed the open sea, the quiet nights, the sound of waves. They missed the closeness of their small community, where everyone knew everyone, where life had a simple rhythm. Even in the busy cities of England, they felt alone. Months passed, then years. In 1963, scientists went back to Tristan da Cunha to check the volcano. To their surprise, the village had survived. The lava had stopped just short of destroying it. Only a few buildings were damaged. The island was still there, green again, quiet again, waiting. When the news reached the islanders in England, they faced a choice. Should they stay in comfort with modern life and safety, or return to their faraway island where there were no supermarkets, no buses, and no doctors nearby? Almost everyone chose to go home. When they stepped off the ship back on Tristan da Cunha, they wept with joy. The air smelled of sea and grass. The sky was clear, and though their island had changed, it still felt like theirs. They cleaned the ash, rebuilt their houses, and planted again in the patches. They repaired the church, reopened the school, and restarted their small fishing trade. Even the animals, the cows and sheep left behind, were still there, waiting. It was not an easy life. There were storms, shortages, and long nights when the radio crackled but no messages came through. But for the islanders, that was home, a home they had fought to keep. Their story became a symbol of resilience. Scientists and journalists around the world were amazed. In a world that was becoming more connected, more crowded, more noisy, here was a tiny community that chose distance over comfort, peace over convenience. They didn't return out of stubbornness, but out of love. They loved the land, the people, the air, the silence. They loved waking up and seeing Queen Mary's Peak standing proudly behind their village. They loved the feeling of safety that comes not from walls or machines, but from trust in one another. Even today, you can still see signs of that 1961 eruption. A dark ridge of lava still lies near the coast, now cool, covered with moss and grass. Children sometimes play there, climbing over old black stones that once glowed red. It's a quiet reminder that the island they live on is alive, peaceful now, but born of fire. The volcano has stayed silent ever since. But the people of Tristan da Cunha never forget what it means to live beside it. When they plant potatoes, they thank the rich volcanic soil. When they see steam rise from the mountain after rain, they watch with calm eyes. They know that their island is not just land, it's a living thing, breathing slowly beneath their feet. In the evenings, when the wind grows soft, you can sometimes see the top of Queen Mary's Peak clear of clouds. It glows golden under the setting sun. Some islanders say that the volcano is resting, watching over them. Others joke that it's just waiting for its turn to stretch again after a long nap. It's a gentle kind of humor, the kind that comes from living with nature, not against it. Life here teaches patience. The volcano may be powerful, but it is also a part of their story, just as they are part of its. Without the fire beneath, there would be no island. And, without the people, its slopes would be silent and forgotten. When the night falls on Tristan da Cunha, the mountain disappears into darkness. The stars come out, bright and unbroken by city lights. Sometimes, on clear nights, you can even see the faint glow of the Milky Way stretching like a ribbon across the sky. It's as if the island itself sits at the center of the universe, small but surrounded by infinity. And maybe that's what makes this place so special. It was born from fire, shaped by storms, and rebuilt by human hands. Every inch of it carries a story of survival. But how do people live day to day in such isolation, where no planes come and ships only visit a few times a year? What is it like to grow up in a world so small, yet surrounded by endless sea? Let's drift closer to that question, and discover what daily life feels like when you live with no neighbor for thousands of kilometers. On Tristan da Cunha, there is only one village. It sits quietly between green fields and the dark blue ocean, surrounded by high cliffs that guard it like walls. The people call it Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, though it feels more like a peaceful countryside town than a capital. Here, there are no other towns to visit, no nearby islands to drive to, no highway that leads somewhere new. Every road begins and ends on Tristan da Cunha itself. The nearest neighbour? A small, uninhabited island called Inaccessible Island, about 40 kilometres away. The name says it all. No one lives there. Beyond that, the next bit of land is St. Helena, more than 2,000 kilometres away. So yes, the people of Tristan da Cunha truly live without a neighbour. But that doesn't mean their world is empty. It just means it's smaller and maybe, in some ways, richer. Each day on Tristan begins with the same soft sounds, waves, wind, and the distant bleating of sheep. There are no alarm clocks blaring, no traffic noises, only the ocean reminding everyone that it's morning again. The first thing most families do is check the weather. On an island this small, the weather decides everything: when you can fish, when you can work the fields, even when ships can arrive. If the clouds are thick and the sea rough, everyone knows it's a stay close kind of day. Breakfast is simple: bread, eggs, maybe a little jam or tea. Most food comes from the island itself. The soil, made rich by old volcanic ash, is perfect for growing potatoes, the island's main crop. People also raise cows, sheep, and chickens, and catch fish in the surrounding waters. There's one small shop that sells supplies from the outside world, things like sugar, flour, soap, and fuel. But those goods arrive only when a ship from South Africa visits, which happens just a few times a year. When that ship comes, it's a big event. The whole island goes down to the harbour to help unload. Boxes, barrels, and letters arrive after months of waiting. It feels like Christmas every time. And yes, the mail really can take months. A letter from England might travel halfway around the world, then wait on a dock until the next supply ship finally sails. By the time it reaches Tristan da Cunha, the news inside may already be old, but people still smile when they open it. A letter, even a late one, feels like a small miracle. Life on Tristan da Cunha runs on a smaller scale, but with great care. There is one school, called Street Mary's School. Children learn the same subjects as anywhere else: math, English, science, but they also learn island skills: fishing, farming, and caring for animals. When they finish school, some young people go abroad for further studies, but many choose to return home. They say life feels more meaningful there. There's one hospital, with a small team of doctors and nurses, If someone becomes seriously ill, they may need to wait for a ship to take them to South Africa, a journey of about a week. That's why islanders take good care of each other. A fever, a broken arm, or even a small accident becomes a community concern. Everyone helps. There's one pub, the Albatross Bar, where people gather in the evenings to share stories, play darts, and sing. There's also one cafe and one small museum that tells the island's history. There's even a little post office that prints special Tristan da Cunha stamps collected by people all over the world. And of course, there's one internet connection, slow and limited, but enough for emails and short messages. There's no Netflix, no streaming movies, and definitely no scrolling for hours. Many islanders say that's a good thing. It leaves more time for real conversations, walks by the sea, or evenings by the fire. Visitors often say the first thing they notice about Tristan is the silence. Not an empty silence, but a calm one, the kind that lets you hear your own thoughts. When you walk through the village, you can hear sheep grazing, the faint hum of the wind, and the rhythmic crash of waves in the distance. There are no cars rushing by. In fact, there are almost no private cars at all. People mostly walk, ride bicycles, or use small tractors for work. At night, when the power station shuts down part of the grid to save fuel, the village becomes dark and peaceful. You can see thousands of stars, brighter than anywhere in a city. The Milky Way stretches like a silver path above the island. Some nights, people sit outside just to watch the sky. It feels like looking into forever. Life in isolation might sound serious, but the people of Tristan da Cunha have a warm sense of humour about it. They like to laugh about their tiny world. There's a popular local joke. If you don't like your neighbours on Tristan, you only have to walk 50 metres to find another one. Or another one. When the ship is late, we all lose weight. Humour helps them stay cheerful, especially when the weather turns rough or supplies run low. It's part of what keeps the community strong, the ability to laugh together, even at the hard parts. There are no deadlines on Tristan. There's no morning traffic, no waiting in lines, no pressure to keep up. Time flows differently. You can see it in the way people move, calmly, purposefully, without hurry. When someone repairs a roof, others come to help. When a boat needs painting, a few friends join in. Work and social life blend together naturally. It's a rhythm that feels closer to nature than to the clock. Even the children grow up with a sense of patience. They learn early that ships don't always arrive when planned. Sometimes the ocean decides otherwise, and you just have to wait. It's a quiet lesson in trust, that life, like the sea, has its own timing. In the last few years, the island has gained more contact with the outside world through limited internet. People can read news, message friends abroad, and even post photos online. But the digital connection hasn't changed the island's heart. Most people say they wouldn't want Tristan to become too connected. They value the slow life. Every few years, reporters or researchers visit and ask the same question. Would you ever leave for good? Most islanders smile and shake their heads. They say, why would we? Everything we love is here. To them, living on the world's most remote island isn't a test, it's a treasure. It's a life filled with small, real moments. A shared meal, a calm sea, a walk under the stars. The sea rules everything on Tristan da Cunha. It brings food, supplies, and visitors, and sometimes storms. Fishermen go out in small boats, catching Tristan rock lobster, known locally as crayfish. It's the island's main export, and it supports most of the economy. Fishing is done carefully, never too much, always respecting the ocean. The islanders know that, if they take too much, the sea might give less next year. So they balance their needs with nature's rhythm. When the fishing boats return, people wait by the shore, ready to help pull them in. It's a scene that hasn't changed for generations. The ocean giving, the people giving back. Because the island is so small, everyone depends on everyone. There are only a few family names, like Glass, Swain, and Repetto, descendants of the original settlers. Many people are related in some way, but the sense of family goes beyond blood. Everyone treats everyone else like kin. When someone repairs a house, others come to lend a hand. When a storm damages crops, neighbors share what they have. Birthdays, weddings, and anniversaries are celebrated by the whole island. No one is left out. That closeness means that loneliness, the kind we often feel in big cities, almost doesn't exist here. Even on the most remote island on Earth, no one is truly alone. Sometimes, when the ship leaves and the sea falls silent again, the island returns to its peaceful rhythm. Days stretch softly into one another. The grass sways, the waves roll in, and life continues, steady, gentle, and kind. Living without a neighbor doesn't mean living without a world. It just means the world is smaller and more precious. Each person, each animal, each wave becomes part of that shared life. But for all its beauty and simplicity, isolation can also be fragile. When something goes wrong, when a storm hits, or someone falls sick, the island's distance becomes real again. So how do the people of Tristan da Cunha stay safe, healthy, and prepared when help is an ocean away? Let's move closer to that story, the gifts and the burdens of living so far from the rest of the world. On Tristan da Cunha, everyone is family, sometimes quite literally. The island's small population, just around 250 people, descends from a handful of families who arrived here long ago. The surnames tell their story: Glass, Swain, Repetto, Lavarello, Rogers, Green, and Hagen. These few names are repeated across the island's records, each carrying a thread that connects one generation to the next, and the next, and the next. If you walk through the small village of Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, the only settlement on the island, you will hear these names spoken everywhere. A good morning, Mr. Swain, might be answered by, "Morning to you too, cousin." It's a place where everyone is someone's cousin, uncle, or aunt, and where family gatherings often feel like town-wide events. The story began in 1816, when a small group of men from the British garrison stayed behind after the military left. They made the island their home, built small stone cottages, and learned to live from the sea and soil. Later, others joined them, sailors from passing ships, Italian and Dutch fishermen, and a few women who braved the long voyage from places like Street Helena and Britain. Over the years, their descendants built a community unlike any other in the world. Imagine growing up in a place where you know everyone by name. If you're walking down the road, you'll always meet someone you know, a neighbor, a cousin, a teacher who once taught your parents. There are no strangers on Tristan da Cunha. There are only faces you recognize, voices that sound familiar, and laughter that echoes through generations. Life here is shaped by cooperation, with no shopping malls, no big supermarkets, and only one small store that receives supplies from the outside world, maybe twice a year. The people rely on each other. When a roof leaks, someone brings tools. When a field needs to be ploughed, everyone helps. When a cow gives birth, it's a small celebration. On Tristan, no one stands alone. The rhythm of life follows the seasons and the sea. Men often go fishing, women work in the gardens, and children help wherever they can. School lessons end early enough so kids can help their parents tend to crops or livestock before sunset. It's not an easy life, but it's a shared one, and that makes all the difference. In the evenings, when the wind blows softly from the ocean, families gather. They talk about the day, drink tea, and share stories about ancestors who braved storms, built homes, and stayed strong when ships didn't come. Some stories sound almost mythical, like how one of the early settlers, a man named Corporal William Glass, laid the foundations of the island's rules, focusing on fairness, cooperation, and faith. Even now, his name lives on in the faces of his descendants, who carry both his surname and his spirit. There's something deeply human about this kind of connection. A world so small that trust is automatic, and everyone depends on everyone else. If someone is sick, the entire community knows by morning. A neighbor might bring soup, another might watch the children. There are no secrets here, but there is comfort in that closeness. It's like living in one giant family home surrounded by sea. But this closeness also has its quiet challenges. With such a small population and so few families, scientists once worried about something called the founder effect. It means that with limited genetic diversity, certain traits, or even health risks, can pass more easily from generation to generation. Researchers visited the island to study how such a tiny population manages its health. The people of Tristan welcomed them with tea and biscuits, curious themselves about what science might find. And though they face a few rare inherited conditions, overall, the islanders live simple, long, and mostly healthy lives. Their diet, fresh fish, vegetables, and homemade bread, certainly helps. Still, the community has learned to adapt in other ways. Marriages are planned with care, often with advice from the older generation, and sometimes even from doctors who understand the island's unique heritage. But despite these complexities, love always finds a way here, just like it did generations ago when a British soldier fell in love with a street Hellenian woman and decided to stay forever. You could say that love built this island as much as stone and wood did. There's also something wonderfully egalitarian about Tristan's social life. No one is rich or poor. Everyone earns a similar amount, and most families work for the same local government or in the fishing cooperative. When money comes in, it's usually spent on shared needs: fuel, maintenance, food imports. The people of Tristan don't measure success by possessions. They measure it by harmony. And harmony, here, is sacred. When disputes happen, as they do in any community, the solution is often as simple as sitting down for tea. There's a council of elders who help make decisions, but more often than not, problems are solved through conversation and kindness. After all, if you're going to see your neighbor every single day for the rest of your life, you learn to forgive quickly. Every few weeks, the whole island comes together for community work days. They call it sharing the load. Roads are repaired, potato patches are tended, fences are fixed, and the work is done side by side. Children learn from their elders how to plant, how to mend, how to build. These small tasks connect generations in a rhythm that feels timeless. It's work, yes, but it's also a form of togetherness, a quiet reminder that survival here is a group effort. At night, when the sky darkens into a dome of glittering stars, you can hear faint laughter from one home to another. Windows glow with soft yellow light. The entire village feels alive in a gentle hum, like the heartbeat of a single extended family. Perhaps that's what makes Tristan so different. In the outside world, people often chase connection through messages, screens, and busy schedules. On Tristan da Cunha, connection is not something to be chased. It's something they live every single day. Here, the concept of privacy is different. Doors are rarely locked. Visitors are always welcomed with tea and a smile. Birthdays, weddings, and even funerals are community-wide events. When a baby is born, it's not just the parents who celebrate, it's the entire island. The baby is everyone's joy, everyone's future. There's even a saying among the islanders: on Tristan, no one grows alone. It's a phrase that carries both warmth and truth, because when you live in one of the most isolated places on Earth, your greatest strength isn't isolation, but unity. And yet, you might wonder, how does such a small, close-knit world stay connected with the outside? How do they keep learning, keep growing, and keep in touch with a world so far away? After all, even though Tristan da Cunha may feel like another planet, it's still part of ours. And its people, curious and resilient, have found ways to bridge the great ocean that surrounds them, not just through ships, but through modern technology and clever ingenuity. Life on Tristan da Cunha moves at a quiet, steady pace. There are no crowds, no traffic, and no rush. The air is clean, the sea is near, and time feels slower here. People often say that living on the world's most remote island brings peace, and it does. There's no pollution, no crime, and no noise from the outside world. Everyone knows everyone. Doors stay unlocked, and neighbours check on one another. The rhythm of life is simple: work, eat, rest, and repeat. But this peace also has limits. If someone falls seriously ill, help is far away. The island's small medical centre handles basic care, but advanced treatment is over 1,500 miles away in Cape Town, South Africa. Evacuation depends on ships or rare helicopter missions, which can be delayed for days or even weeks if the weather turns bad. When storms close in, there is no leaving and no arriving, only waiting. Because of that, the people of Tristan da Cunha have learned to rely on themselves. They grow their own food, raise animals, and share what they produce. The main farming area, known as the Patches, lies outside the village. Families grow potatoes there, the island's main crop, along with vegetables like carrots and cabbage. Cows, sheep, and poultry provide milk, meat, and eggs. It's not luxury living, but it's enough. Fishing is the other lifeline. The islanders catch Tristan rock lobster, also called crayfish, from the cold waters around the island. It's their main export and the foundation of their small economy. The money from these exports pays for supplies, fuel, and imported goods that come on a few supply ships each year. When the weather is calm, work continues outdoors, farming, fishing, and repairing. When storms roll in, people stay inside, fix tools, or spend time with family. Evenings are quiet, with a few radios playing music or local announcements. There's no rush to go anywhere because there's nowhere else to go. Isolation can be comforting, but it also means limits. There are no cafes, cinemas, or big stores. Young people sometimes leave to study or work abroad, but many return, drawn back by the safety, simplicity, and close community they grew up with. For the people of Tristan da Cunha, peace and hardship live side by side. The island gives them calm days and clean air, but it also reminds them how fragile isolation can be when help is far away. Still, they continue, planting, fishing, and working together, because this is their home, and they know no other place like it. Tristan da Cunha may be small, but around it stretches a vast world of life. The island sits in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean, surrounded by deep blue water and wild weather. Far from people and cities, nature rules here completely. Every direction you look, there is wildlife. Seabirds fill the sky, penguins gather on rocky shores, seals rest on the beaches, whales pass by in the open sea. The island feels like a living sanctuary, quiet, clean, and untouched. Tristan da Cunha and its nearby islands are part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site. That title protects its rare plants and animals and recognizes it as one of the most unspoiled ecosystems left on Earth. Because it's so isolated, many species here exist nowhere else. One of them is the Tristan thrush, a small brown bird found only on these islands. Locals call it the starchy, and it's known for being bold and curious. It hops close to people, sometimes even landing near doorsteps or windows. On Tristan, the thrush has no fear, it has never had reason to. Other birds make the skies busy too. Albatrosses, petrels, and terns nest on nearby cliffs. The island group is home to one of the world's largest seabird colonies. During breeding season, the air is full of wings and calls, thousands of birds coming and going across the sea. To watch them is to see pure freedom. Along the shores, you'll find penguins, mainly the northern rockhopper penguin, easily recognized by its yellow eyebrows and playful jump from rock to rock. They live in large colonies and are a favorite sight for both locals and scientists. The people of Tristan protect them carefully as their numbers have declined in other parts of the world. In the waters beyond, fur seals rest and breed on small nearby islands, while southern right whales and humpback whales sometimes pass close to shore. On calm days, you can spot their dark shapes rising and sinking in the distance, breathing out mist that glows in the light. For the islanders, it's a normal part of life to see whales where others only read about them. Because the ecosystem here is so pure, scientists from around the world often visit to study it. They research the birds, the marine life, and the plants that grow in the island's volcanic soil. Many come away describing Tristan as a living laboratory, a glimpse of how nature might look without heavy human impact. But isolation, while protective, can also make the ecosystem fragile. Invasive species, plants, rats, or insects carried accidentally by ships can harm native wildlife. For example, rats that came with early sailing ships once became a danger to seabird nests. The islanders and conservation teams have worked hard to control them, protecting the rare birds that nest on the ground. The weather brings its own challenges too. Storms on Tristan da Cunha are frequent and powerful. Winds can reach hurricane strength, and waves can crash higher than houses. Sometimes these storms last for days, cutting off power, damaging fields, and making it impossible to go outside. The people stay indoors and wait, while seabirds battle the wind and the sea roars endlessly against the coast. When the weather clears, the island looks renewed, green, shining, and quiet again. Grass bends in the breeze, penguins return to the rocks, and albatrosses circle the cliffs as if nothing happened. Nature here is tough. It has to be. Life on Tristan depends on respecting that toughness. The islanders know that nature is not separate from their lives. It's part of it. The same sea that feeds them can also trap them. The same soil that grows food can wash away in a storm. So they live carefully, taking only what they need and leaving the rest untouched. Many people from faraway cities might see Tristan da Cunha as lonely, but for those who live there, it feels alive. It's a place where the land, sea, and sky are always moving, and where humans are just one small part of something much larger. Still, the people here sometimes wonder how long this balance can last. The world outside is changing, the oceans are warming, storms are growing stronger, and wildlife everywhere faces new pressures. The islanders watch the horizon and ask quietly, how long can nature remain untouched in a connected world? Even though Tristan da Cunha feels like another world, it is still connected by thin, fragile threads that stretch across the ocean. There are no airports, no daily ships, and no easy routes here. The island's only link to the outside is by sea. A few times each year, ships come from Cape Town, South Africa, bringing supplies, mail, and sometimes visitors. The journey takes around 7 days, if the weather is kind. When it's not, ships must wait for calmer seas before they can land. Because of this, the island's harbour is one of its most important places. When a ship arrives, the whole community gathers to help unload. Boxes of food, fuel, tools, and medicines are carried ashore. People pick up letters, newspapers, and sometimes long-awaited packages from relatives abroad. For a few days, the quiet island feels busy, full of news, stories, and laughter. Then, when the ship leaves, the calm returns, and everyone settles back into their rhythm. Technology has brought new connections too. A few years ago, the island gained limited internet access through satellite links. It's not fast, and data is expensive, but it has changed life here in small but meaningful ways. Children can study online. The school can share lessons with teachers in other countries. Families can send emails to relatives living overseas. The islanders also listen to radio broadcasts and use satellite phones to stay in touch with ships or emergency services. For most people, though, life still happens offline, face-to-face, on the fields or in the community hall. When communication works, it brings comfort. But when the weather turns bad, the internet signal fades, and contact with the outside world can disappear for days. During those times, the people return to their old ways, relying on word of mouth, shared meals, and patience. Despite the distance, Tristan da Cunha is part of the modern world in surprising ways. It has its own local government under the British Overseas Territories, its own flag, and even its own postal stamps that collectors around the world treasure. Mail may take months to arrive, but each letter that leaves the island carries a little piece of its story. Tourists sometimes visit, only a few dozen each year. They come by ship to see the wildlife, the volcano, and the simple way of life that seems frozen in time. Islanders welcome them warmly, offering guided walks and handmade souvenirs. Visitors often describe the same feeling, that time slows down here and the modern world feels very far away. But connection isn't just about mail and internet. It's also emotional. Many islanders have relatives living abroad, in South Africa, the UK, or even New Zealand. Some left to study, to work, or to experience the wider world. Yet most still call Tristan home. They send photos, stories, and sometimes money or gifts. When they return for visits, it's a big event, a reunion that brings tears, laughter, and long evenings of storytelling. The island's young people grow up knowing that the world beyond the horizon is huge and fast-moving, but they also know that their island offers something rare: safety, familiarity, and belonging. Some dream of leaving for a while, others dream of coming back. Still, these connections remind the community that they are not forgotten. Every message received, every ship on the horizon, every package opened, it's a reminder that even here, in the middle of the Atlantic, they are part of a wider human family. Modern tools also help the island survive in practical ways. Weather forecasts and satellite tracking help warn of incoming storms. Scientists share conservation advice to protect wildlife and farmland. And when global events happen, like the pandemic, information from the outside world helps the island prepare and stay safe. Yet, even with these connections, Tristan remains proudly independent. Its people fix their own roads, grow their own food, and solve their own problems. The outside world is a support, not a crutch. They use what technology they can, but they never let it replace what matters most: cooperation and community. At night, when the sky is clear, you can sometimes see satellites crossing above the island, tiny lights moving silently among the stars. Each one carries signals, voices, and data from millions of people far away. Down below, on this small island, a few screens glow softly in the dark. A student might be finishing an online lesson. A family might be sending an email to Cape Town. A researcher might be sharing wildlife data with a scientist across the ocean. These quiet signals link a handful of people in the South Atlantic to the rest of humanity. They are thin threads, but they hold strong. Still, connection is not only about technology. It's also about meaning, the feeling of being part of something larger. For the people of Tristan da Cunha, their connection to the world is balanced by their deep connection to home, the land, the sea, and the life they've built together. The question often asked by visitors is simple: do you ever feel cut off from the world? And the islanders often smile before answering. Not really, they say. The world comes to us, just slower. Life on Tristan da Cunha is not easy, but for those who live here, it is home, and that means everything. There are no malls, no movie theatres, and no traffic. But there is peace, safety, and a sense of belonging that is hard to find elsewhere. Everyone knows everyone. No one goes hungry. Doors are left unlocked. When someone is sick, neighbours bring food or help with chores. When there is a celebration, the whole island joins in. The community is small, fewer than 300 people, but it feels large in spirit. They share daily work: farming potatoes, fishing, fixing roads, and tending animals. In the evenings, they gather at the community hall for music, dances, and games. The island even has its own local band and radio station, which play songs and share announcements that keep everyone connected. Faith also plays a quiet role in daily life. The island church, St. Mary's, stands near the village green. It's where people gather for Sunday services, weddings, and community events. The sound of its bell marks time in a place where life still follows the rhythm of nature. There is pride, too, in their independence. The Tristanites maintain their own government, school, post office, and small hospital. They make their own decisions, fix their own problems, and take care of one another. Outsiders often wonder why anyone would stay on such a remote island, but for the people of Tristan, the answer is simple. This is home. Many families have lived here for generations. Their roots go deep in the land, in the stories, and in the faces of their neighbours. They may live far from the rest of the world, but they have something many people elsewhere search for: community, peace, and purpose. Children grow up surrounded by open fields, ocean air, and the steady rhythm of island life. Some leave to study or work abroad, but most return, drawn back by the pull of family and the comfort of the familiar. They say it's not the easiest life, but it's an honest one. Even through storms, eruptions, and long periods of isolation, the people of Tristan da Cunha have endured. Their strength comes not from wealth or power, but from cooperation and shared hope. Every harvest, every repaired roof, every birthday celebration is proof that this tiny island still thrives through human spirit. In a world that feels faster every year, Tristan remains slow, steady, and true. It reminds us that happiness doesn't always come from having more. Sometimes it comes from living simply, together. On the map, Tristan da Cunha is a dot in a blue sea. But for the people who call it home, it's the whole world. Far away in the South Atlantic, Tristan da Cunha drifts in calm and silence. Its people live simply, surrounded by sea, sky, and friendship. The world rushes on, but here time slows down. As the waves whisper against the shore, the island reminds us peace can still be found in small places. And in that thought, you can rest. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with wonder.